Hey, thanks for joining. I'm your host, Chris Gennaro. My co-host is Rizk, and today we have Rollie from Teeth.
What's up?
So, we're just going to get into talking about your new EP, Finite. It's on Translation Lost Records. It's coming out, I think, soon. I saw something about November, but then I think I saw a date for like in like a few days.
No, the actual physical date is in November. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is it digital as first?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I have two different dates. Let's start talking about it. We got an advanced copy. Thank you so much. I feel special now. That's cool. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a lot of real interesting stuff on there. Because I think, there's a lot of death metal influence, there's a lot of grind influence, and I think there was even a little bit more doom than I was expecting, maybe based on Curse of Entropy. And there was a lot of solid death metal stuff on there, but maybe not as many like little bits and things that you could, flavors. So just, I guess, talk about what you were looking to do with this new EP and maybe some of the differences between it and the previous stuff you've done.
Well, okay, so I think the biggest difference between Finite and the Curse of Entropy is probably just like dynamics and like maybe like range of energy levels. The Curse of Entropy is pretty just like at you. Case in point, there's no clean parts. It's all driven. It's all pretty much all death metal or weird death metal, whatever, at you the whole time. And then I'm sure you noticed the Finite starts with a clean part. And like it just has there's kind of like a much wider like range of places. I guess like we're kind of just thinking more like a little bit less just focused on aggression, because it's like, where was there to go after the Curse of Entropy? Like we kind of couldn't feel like we had to like take it down, at least in places, a little bit, in order to like just widen the scope of like things that we could and like moods we could convey with it. So I'd say that was like one of the main things. But that was honestly, I mean, that wasn't super intentional, really. Like we kind of just write pretty intuitively, like instinctively. We don't really set out, okay, this one we're gonna start, like we don't really set out with that much of a vision. It's more like we kind of just start throwing shit around, and like usually it's me and the other guitar player sitting down, like throwing ideas back and forth to like get things going through the writing process. And it's pretty much, if we get to a point where we're like kind of like giggling around like two little wands, then we keep an idea. Like it kind of has to like make us crack up. Until then, it's, I don't know, there really isn't any like guiding process. We kind of just like bounce ideas off each other, and then once it's kind of taking us to a place where like, okay, this, like, what the fuck are we doing here? Then we proceed with it.
Okay.
Like, and then, maybe weeks or months down the road, we realize, oh, wow, it's kind of like different than what we did before. Or like, hey, like, there's kind of like this theme that like, we like noticed, like, a friend of mine pointed out that like, he felt Finite kind of begins and ends in, there's like a similarity between the very beginning of the first song and the ending of the last song.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and like listened to it with what he said, and I was like, hey, yeah, you're right. There is some weird kind of like correlation there. That was not planned or like delivered on our part. That kind of just happened. So to answer your question, there probably isn't as much like conscious thought going into it when we're creating it that some people seem to get on the end of it, which is nice. That it seems like it comes off intentional, because it's kind of bored. Like there's a lot of improvisation going on in the writing process, or even when we're recording. Sometimes we're in the studio recording. We handle the production ourselves, so it kind of gives us the, a bit more luxury when we're working on a record to like maybe try things that if we were recording elsewhere and paying for every single minute of studio time, we probably wouldn't have the luxury to like go to that level of detail on a part, or like zero in on something specific, whether it be a tone or a particular riff, and take it that far out per se.
Yeah, I saw that you mentioned, or it's in the liner notes and stuff, that you are the one that helps mix that. Is that in your? Do you work at a studio, or is that a home studio, or?
I own and operate a studio, Bright Lights Basement in Santa Ana.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my main income is studio work. I also teach guitar, like drums, and bass privately, but it's mostly the studio. That's my main thing.
Cool. And then let's talk about the Decimo Beer Fest.
Sure.
That was what, September 25th, 26th.
Yeah.
Converge, I think Napalm Death. I'm trying to remember who all the bands that were playing. It was like a ton of bands.
Yeah.
But how did that go? How'd you get on it? Any crazy stories? How'd you get hooked up with Decimo? They seem to plug the shit out of you, which is cool.
So our label, Translation Loss, they have a good long history. They're both based out of Philly, which Decibel is based out of. So they have a good long like relationship together, the label that we're on and the fest. And the way we got hooked up with it is pretty much they offered the label a spot, a feature on the fest, and the label chose us to be the band to represent the label for this year. So that's kind of how we got it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And they have a ton of big bands on that label.
Yeah.
And then what was the experience like playing such a big fest? Was that your first show back? Was that the first show back?
That was definitely our first post-COVID performance. And
that's a good one.
Yeah. What could be better? I mean, first time on the East Coast, period. And first show back after like maybe a year and 4 months. Yeah. 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. I believe our last show was sometime in February 2020.
Okay.
So, we put out the Curse of Entropy, and we played a release show that was well received in like Long Beach, which is more or less where we're based out of here in California. Mm-hmm. It's like a suburb of Los Angeles. And then we played one other show, and that was it. COVID steamrolled everything. Mm-hmm. So to like make a return to live music at the fest was kind of too good to be true. Yeah. And it honestly went better than I could have imagined, and than I expected in like going into it. There's a lot of, it's like the first time we've flown out to a show, so that whole experience, using only the gear that we could bring with us on the plane, there's a ton of small moving parts that could have gone wrong. Mm-hmm. Some of us had to fly out to different airports because they were in a wedding like 2 days before. All this shit. There was a lot that could have gone wrong. And None of it did, remarkably. So, I mean, the other thing was just playing, that's a way bigger stage and just a way like higher profile build than we have had in the past. So it was definitely an honor and a privilege to play with bands that we've been listening to and have been influencing us since we were teenagers. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
I was bumping Converge, Pig Destroyer, Immolation, Napalm Death. I was listening to all those bands like half my life ago, and to be up there on the stage opening up for them was fucking awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I saw in November 2019 you also played with Indian and Oryx.
We did. We played. That was at a fest, Midnight Communion. Yeah, out here in California.
Yeah, we had
Also
Indian
cool.
on.
I think we had both those bands on. Yeah.
Oh yes, both the bands. Sorry. The Oryx Davis, I think was their last name. Very cool couple that came on. Just look.
Who did the artwork for the new album? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the artwork for Finite was done by Mark Erskine. Yeah. Which is, kind of paralleled a bit what I was also talking about earlier with, the Curse of Entropy artwork. So like, exploding
and colorful, very vibrant
at you.
Yep. Yeah.
And really dense and really just like purposely busy. So for, like what were we gonna do? Like we couldn't just like. We didn't want to just like do another blah at you kind of artwork. We wanted to do something a little more like kind of that you had to look into, that you had to, I don't know, kind of like brought you in, which happens to parallel in a lot of ways the like auditory experience of the record. Like it comes in very purposely understated and then like kind of brings you in and then hits you. It's not just the Curse of Entry, which you press play and it's just a boom, train at you.
Yeah, I was looking at that guy's artwork on his I think it was his Facebook page, and he does like a lot of landscapes and cool, like
definitely his thing. Like it's like he's always, you kind of look through like his Instagram, his work tends to kind of pull you, like you go like into it, The other one is a bit more like extroverted coming out.
So I do have a note on here to ask you what the heck that thing is on the cover of Curse of Entropy.
It's just kind of a fleshy space being.
Fleshy space being.
I was gonna say I got outer space
self-eviscerating space being. Yeah.
Some kind of space theme.
That's really it. It's kind of like, spilling your guts in space kind of guy.
I was going to ask you like what kind of stuff you sing about and your lyrics. There is a note on like Metal Archives that it's, personal experiences and other things, but it had a note there that there was absurdism, and I wasn't sure what that was. I don't know that that's coming from you, but.
So the majority of the lyrics are actually written by the other guitar player, Justin. But we do like collaborate, and I've written like I might like adjust lines here and there slightly, or like we might kind of bounce ideas off each other, or I write. There's a few songs on Curse of Entropy, and then there's this one song on Finite that I wrote all the lyrics for. It kind of varies. I guess absurdism and and just I don't know, existential anguish, kind of like broad categories that like the lyrics concern themselves with. Each song, there usually is a more personal, specific meaning, but like both me and Justin, the more like personal it gets with us, the more we like obscure we get with it, you know. So if it's about certain people, they don't fucking know that ever.
No, I've been there a couple times, like,
or maybe we do want them to know, but like not enough to like for them to feel like credit or anything. Yeah, I would say, you know, absurdism is definitely a theme throughout all of our work. I mean, that's like beyond lyrics too. I mean, I'd say our riffs and ideas of what to do with music is kind of absurdism.
Speaking about absurd, this is a good segue because it's a question I needed to get an answer to. Very important question. What the hell was on Facebook with the bathroom key and smashing of the potato chips?
Bathroom key and smashing of potato
You were like,
chips.
oh, this jerk is.
Oh, hold on. That's just, you know, what happens. That was actually the day we were getting ready to go up and record drums, the first day of recording for Finite. So yeah, that's just us screwing around.
Is that Justin? Is that
the drums?
Is that Justin? Who is that on?
Yeah, that would be Justin.
Okay. So he's just fucking around and
yeah,
playing nunchucks with the bathroom key.
Well, yeah, yeah. That's pretty par for the course of like when you get the four of us together. You know, we may make really like pretty dim and depressing or whatever dark music, but we're usually having a great time doing it. And like, you know, it's the sound that comes out and like what actually goes on when we hang out is pretty disconnected. like yeah.
What are some of the band's influences, you'd say?
Well, I mean, okay, so broadly, I would say, of course, like our founding fathers of dissonant death metal, Gorguts, Immolation, Pig Destroyer is definitely one, both musically and lyrically. We're both big fans of JR, and his lyrics, like, is really like, I don't know, just kind of like dark and like weird, like just kind of filthy style that he has with words, and just his like kind of no fucks given vocal approach. Just kind of goes out there and gives it his all. I mean, I would say that neither of us actually, like, we both like that, but we don't exactly do that to the extent that he does, because I mean, he just doesn't give a fuck. I remember there's this one Pig Destroyer performance of them old at like CBGB's, and he breaks the mic, and you could still hear, and he just like drops it, and he just starts screaming out, no mic, and you can hear him over the drummer and the guitar player like clearly, and it's just like, you know, he just gives it his all, and like we fucking love that vibe. What else musically influenced? So I mean, yeah, we said Gorguts. I know, like, more specifically, kind of around the time we were working on Finite, we were listening to Ulcerate. I mean, we've been fans of them. They're fucking and kind of like, I don't know, dissonant death metal or black metal, wherever you want to place them. They just knock it out of the park. Me and the drummer are pretty big fans of jazz. So, like, for me personally, I would say Pharoah Sanders and Wayne Shorter, Miles Davis, kind of like 60s era, like post-bop, maybe more free jazz. That's kind of the stuff that I'm really, like, a big fan of, that era. Maybe like the early to late 60s. That's definitely something that like influences at least me. And then I know the drummer, he's definitely into maybe some of the more modern jazz stuff as well. And I think you can kind of hear a bit of that like come through in what we do. Like we don't like just bust into jazz parts per se, but like our approach to harmony and, you know, note choices, I think are at least informed from like the jazz that some of us are fans of.
We have been talking a lot about Curse of Entropy, and I saw in one note somewhere that said that you had a lot of setbacks while recording that. I was curious, like maybe what that, you know, what was the broader story there?
Well, the broader story is don't name a record The Curse of Entropy and think it's just going to be a fucking walk in the park. Like that's the short answer. But more specifically, we had like a series of lineup changes, all with the drummer really. And, you know, we started recording the record and then we had to let that first drummer go. And then we re-recorded, we ditched his parts and re-recorded the record with our current drummer, Alejandro. And so that was that's a whole ordeal of, you know, like it literally took me, I want to say it took me like a week or so, maybe a little more, just to edit the drums the first time around. So to like stop like and like make that decision, find someone new, have them work up that material, and then re-record it because it was all done to a click. That was the only way that this was possible. And then re-edit the drums because everything else had been done. So it's kind of like we had to edit the drums again for it to work out. You know, that was just it was like, well, you just kind of climbed a mountain, but find someone else and climb it again. And that's what we did, really. And, you know, I just remember there's kind of several points along the way where I just remember kind of like just feeling gassed, like, fuck, man, like, is this record even gonna happen? Like, what are we even doing? Because we had stopped playing live for a while just to focus on the record, because it kind of became practice would either become working or maintaining a set for live performance or working on new material. But we weren't really practicing. We practiced about once a week. So it wasn't really enough like consistent time to do both. So we gave up performing live for a while. And then all the shit with the member changes happened. But eventually we pulled through it and pulled it together. And, you know, I'm still quite proud of the end result. So it was worth it. It was just like, there was a lot of like, there's definitely a lot of moments of second guessing along the way.
Sure. How long did it take for that drummer to learn a whole album worth of material? That's crazy. And then record it? That's nuts.
Alex is kind of a freak. We're very blessed to have him. He honestly learned it. I feel like I want to say he learned it in like a matter of about 2 to 3 months.
That's fast.
Yeah. And dude, I still remember very clearly the tryout / audition when he came in playing we basically sent out 3 songs to potential drummers that we were considering, had them learn at least one of them, if not 2, and hopefully all 3. He's the only one who learned all 3. And the main song that we're kind of looking at, he learned it far and away, like like just orders of magnitude better than any of the other guys we even tried. So it was like the choice was very clear. Like he's the dude.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, he also, like, his addition to the band both added a lot in terms of, like, he's the most dynamic drummer we've ever had. Even within like a death metal style, like he has quite a bit of like shape and just flair and style going on pretty much all tempos. Kind of a rare thing that I feel really works with our sound and kind of distinguishes us and gives us a different kind of edge as opposed to like just the drums in death metal, especially more contemporary death metal, can seem so stiff and mechanical. He can do the mechanical thing, but he can also be quite flowy as well. So that's something that he brought to the table that I think we've always liked that, but not every drum we've had has quite had that, certainly not to his level.
Maybe a good segue into how you guys got together. I didn't see a ton of interviews with you, although it's hard, you know, to Google that stuff because you keep winding up at dentist pages and
yeah.
I can't believe it how many, you know, even Googling your guy's name, like I'm just like, holy shit, how many dentists have the name Peter King?
I didn't even think about that.
Like it's fucking crazy because I was like, well, how am I going to Google this shit? And so I'm like, okay, Peter King teeth interview, and there's like Peter King, I am a dentist, blah blah, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it was crazy. It was like 10 of them. I was like, what the fuck?
The popular dentist name.
Yeah, it was a very popular dentist name.
Well, okay, it's funny you mentioned that because there's beyond just, you know, having a name as broad as teeth. There's like 3 or 4 other teeth bands, right? And personally, I think most of the other guys are on the same page. We kind of get a kick out of the ambiguity because, like, at the end of the day, teeth is such a everyday, like, you can't own teeth, right? You know, like, no one can own the word. You can't like trademark teeth.
Well,
you know,
I think you can. I think for
really
music recordings, yeah, you better get on that.
Oh wait, I
don't know.
Maybe.
I no, because there's been other I know there's been other issues where like there was a band called Vision and then Vision Streetwear, and then they would get, you know, and then there was like, no, ours is trademarked for clothing and yours is trademarked for music, but you know, we're now fighting each other.
I remember that. If it wasn't Vision a hardcore band?
Vision was a hardcore band from Jersey. So and that was my era back in the day.
I don't know, but maybe I wonder if for music, because like, okay, if one is like, I don't know, not like an eye doctor, and then another's a band, it's like, okay, they're clearly different things, right? Like us with a dentist, like whatever. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to confuse those.
Yeah.
But there's this one like Filipino rock band called Teeth that seems to be like the Philippines Weezer.
Oh wow.
And I believe they're signed to Warner Music Group. So, you know, they have like probably the biggest record deal out of all, like way bigger than us, of course. Mm-hmm. But then there's this Teeth from Australia that's kind of deathcore-ish. And then there's this kind of more hardcore Teeth from, I think, Ontario, Canada.
Oh.
And I keep feeling like there might even be 2 from Australia, or maybe one was from Tasmania. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But there's others out there. And like, you know, we feel like all of us are at least different enough, like that, like I don't think you would like mix up like what band we are. I mean, I don't know, maybe it causes a little bit of confusion on Spotify or whatever, but you know, you'll figure out which Teeth it is within a few seconds.
Fair enough.
We don't give a shit, is our stand.
I mean, as long as you're not contacted by the lawyer from the Warner, then I think you're safe, right?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean,
yeah. Why did you go with teeth? Any particular weird story or?
No, there's no like horror, like there's no like, I don't know, dental emergency story or like, you know, it's just clearly visceral. And I think it was the only name that like when we started out we both said yes to. So that was, you know, it managed to cross that threshold, so we just went with it.
Yeah, it's hard to get 4 dudes to agree to something like a band name.
This is even like, no, this is like 2 dudes.
2 dudes
at this
still.
Yeah, or like, oh, we agree on something? Cool, next. The end.
So you and Peter, I think, played in Mortal Wound together?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Peter is still a guitar player of Mortal Wound. I was the original drummer, and I also engineered both the recordings. The one also, they did a split where I was just the engineer. I wasn't playing on it anymore. But yeah, I was the drummer for the original EP/demo.
Okay. I always find it fascinating when people are like the drummer in one band, but the guitarist in another band. And we've seen that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. It's definitely, you know, it's all the same fucking people, just kind of throwing them around in different roles.
And then I mentioned that the one that really had my head scratching as I was looking through metal archives was Our Place of Worship is Silence.
Yeah.
Because like half the members of your band were in their band and their band was in your band. And I was like, I tried to figure it out for like 5 minutes and I was like, fuck this. Either Rollie can explain it to me or I was like, I just can't figure it out on my own.
Okay, yeah. So the link there is, so the guitar player of Our Place of Worship, Eric, me, and Justin, the other guitar player of Teeth, all of us were in a grind band called Wage Slave before Teeth, which is kind of explains why Teeth came about, really. It was like, we wanted to do something, at the time, we wanted to do something considerably more doomy, less grind, and it made sense to like just put it under a different project entirely. And, you know, rather than just change the direction of Wage Slave, we were just like, oh, let's fold that, start something new into this name. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So we were in that band together. And then the original drummer of Teeth is the drummer of Our Place of Worship, Tim. He's the same guy. And he was also on our first record, Unremittance.
Okay.
So it's kind of like our previous band was with one of those guys, and then the very beginning of Teeth was with the other one. And the other link is that I record everything Our Place of Worship has done, and I always do a solo on the record somehow. I don't know, it became a tradition. So I play at least a little guitar on the record, but I record and produce all of them.
Okay, so you're not in the band, but you're like a guest thing in a...
I'm like the producer and like guy who's not in the band, but on the record.
Okay. Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah. And we've all known each other for a long time. Yeah, that's the other point. Oh, yeah. Other link. One more link. I just remembered. I almost forgot. Justin, the other guitar player of Teeth, was the vocalist on Our Place of Worship's first record. So it's all...
It's all okay. Which
was
explaining why I couldn't make heads or tails of it when I was like,
yeah, you're like, there's a connection. It's vague. Welcome.
The 7-inch with Fister sold out. Is there any plans to repress any of that stuff?
So we did take those 2 songs. We remixed our first record, Unremittance, and we also included those 2 songs on the remix version as like bonus tracks.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of got re-released through that in a way, but like the 7-inch itself, no, I don't think there's any plans. That's, you know, that was like old material that we haven't played live in years. And we're kind of on a just move forward, don't play old shit way of thinking. And, you know, sadly, that material kind of falls in the category of just fucking left behind.
The other 7-inch I couldn't find anywhere, by the way, when I was looking for it.
Oh, you're probably referring to the tape with the split tape with Vargas.
Yes, sorry, yes, that's the one.
Yeah. That explains there was no 7-inch. It's just it was tape. I think there's 50, maybe 100, not a lot. Kind of the same thing. So it's funny, that material was okay. That release was kind of like a, I don't know, transitional / growing pains era of the band, where we were like, I don't know, by the end of that release, we were kind of like, you know what, let's just like lean into a more death metal direction. Like, we're not really feeling, I mean, there's still some doom elements in our music here and there, but like from after that, we were kind of like exhausted from playing more in like doomy, at least as we did until that point. So that kind of explains why we swung the other way, and then that eventually led to the Curse of Entropy, which is considerably faster, denser, and just way more at you. Doesn't kind of like, there's no riff or single fucking idea that's going to go on for like more than a minute on that record, even if that long. It's just like idea, gone. Next song, idea.
I think Entropy closes with like sort of a doomy part near the end. I think
it's like always there, you know, like we never truly broke up, but it's in like smaller doses and like in the greater scheme of death metal. So will we bring that back? Probably not. No. It's also, that split was one 23-minute song, which after doing a song of just working on a piece of music that was like one piece that long, I think we've been steadily in the camp of fuck that, why bother? 2-minute songs are way more effective. Nope. The future is shorter and more concise. That's where we're at now.
I do find that it's just a person that even that listens to music, not only that does music, that it, at least if you don't like a 2-minute song, you can fast forward it. If you don't like the 2-minute part of a 20-minute song, it's a little bit harder to be like, you know, when do I get off the, you know, like it becomes a whole fucking
harder to fucking deal with in every regard. Like playing it, rehearsing it, recording it, and then it's harder for the listener. I don't know. Intensity usually benefits greatly from brevity. I truly feel that in music. Like, if you're trying to make an intense statement musically, doing it within a concise amount of time is probably like you're slating the odds in your favor of it coming across well.
You mentioned doing the studio stuff. Any other bands that you've recorded that you're like, holy shit, I'm like, obviously you did our Place of Silence is our Place of Worship is Silence. I have to fuck up at least 5 names during the course of an interview, or that's, you know, it doesn't work. But who else have you recorded that you were like, oh shit, you know, I'm either really super proud to have worked with these guys, or this is a band that more people should go check out?
Right off the top of my head, Swamp Beast. they're also on our label mates on Translation Loss. I did a full length for them, their most recent one, and that record just fucking, it's a beater. I fucking love that record. Those are some of our like best friends, and I don't know, they're just like, they're one of the bands from our area that like we really like, just in terms of like sound and vibe, we were like very like this with, which we don't really kind of have that with too many bands with where we're from. We kind of feel like we're a bit of an outlier in that regard. But yeah, definitely their new record. Our Place of Worship is Silence's new record, as you mentioned. I recently recorded a full length for Zompantli, which is Big Brian of Zabalba. That's like his more Death Doom side project band. And I played drums and recorded that.
Say that name slower again.
Zompantli.
Say it.
Zompantli. So it's like Tzompantli.
Okay, that's going to be helpful because I'll put the links to stuff in the description.
Yeah.
But there was no fucking way I was going to be able to spell that.
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, the other band name is tough too. It's the guy from Zabalba.
Yeah. Zabalba.
Yeah.
So that's the link, and that record's super fucking cool because Brian is a long time homie. Like, we go back. We were playing like hardcore bands and stuff in like the early 00s. So, getting to work on a record with him was just like hanging with one of my best, oldest friends and making music. Like, what could be better? And it's also super cool because he's like, with that project, he's like, he really leans heavy in incorporating kind of indigenous Mexican culture, like pre-colonial Mexican culture, and like working that into the music. So like, there's all sorts of shit. There's like, he's got this death whistle thing, which is like this skull that you blow into, and it creates this kind of like shrieking, screaming sound. And I guess they used to use this when they'd go into battle to like scare the enemy. Like, it sounds terrifying. It sounds like someone being just stabbed to death. Like, and like, it's a very like unnerving noise. So he uses that in the music. He does chants. There's like these like this particular shaker kind of thing that he layers. There's a lot of like very kind of tribal rhythms and stuff like worked into the music. I'm all about that. Like, it's like, it's real. It's like, he's just like getting real fucking artsy with it, and had a great time doing that with him.
Yeah, I feel like I'm right after this interview, I'm going to go and Google death whistle. Like,
yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but I need to hear the death whistle now. Yeah, I guess you want to just we're sort of at time. I mean, do you want to just close out and tell us maybe what your plans for the future are? I think we talked about some of the stuff on the new record does sound a little doomier. It's funny that you were saying you were getting away with that, or getting away from that, but now you're getting away with it. Where is that something that's going to get more? You're going to incorporate more, or
well, we'll see.
Okay.
But we'll just see where the riffs take us, really. I mean, as I said, it's like, usually the litmus test is like, are we laughing at the riff as we're like throwing it around the practice room? Like, is it making us like crack up in some way? Like, is it ridiculous enough?
Like giddy.
Yeah, giddy's a good word. Yeah. Does it make us just like, does it give us a shit-eating grin? It kind of has to. or else it's just not good enough. And whether that's kind of doomy or kind of death metal, it's kind of secondary. Like, but like I think I can say like with some certainty, like the kind of, at least maybe more with the song, the form of the song and the length of the song, I think the new material is gonna be like more kind of focused, shorter songs than like long, in the sense of like what we did on that second split with Bargist, or the stuff we did on our first record on Remittance. Like, I don't really see us returning to that kind of like sludginess, or like maybe a doom vibe for like a whole song. Maybe part of a song will do it, but like to just go there and park there for a whole piece, I don't think we're going to do that again.
Yeah, because Garden of Eyes hits upon that, but that's not the whole song, right? That's
like, and then, you know, I mean, that's kind of like, that song's also a good example of just what I'm talking about. Like, you know, like, why is that song 7 minutes? I don't know. It just had a fucking will, and that will extended to 7 minutes. All the other songs are like, you know, the song after it and then the song after that are like 2 minutes and change. And then nothing really, I think after that, maybe there's like a 4 minute song, and then the last song ends up being kind of like 4 minutes, but realistically it's because the end of the song goes on for a while. The meat of that last song is only 2 minutes and change, and then we finally chill out and it just closes out the record.
Yeah, that last song, Nexus, is, I think,
Scornful Nexus.
I say Nexus because then I don't have to mispronounce the first part of it. Okay. Yes, that last song definitely has like a lot of the grind elements. From Curse, that I think people are going to be like, yeah, shit, that's the fucking,
give me it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it starts very Curse of Entropy, like, you know, you press play, blast beat for a while. Like, that's, we're starting there and we're staying there.
Cool. You're good, Eric?
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
You're good? Yeah, I do. I feel like we did cover a lot of shit. Rollie, man, thanks for joining us. We had a blast.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, cool. Keep in touch, and you know, let us know what you're doing in the future. And thanks for joining, everybody.
Sick.